Hey, good evening. Welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Retiring in the Philippines and making the best of it. Making the best of it is not something that's a one-size-fits-all. That's for sure. So it is possible that my way of making the best of it may not be yours. Personally, I think that making the best of it would be going from the start when you actually decide that you're coming here. Making the best of it. Come here first before you decide that you're going to make the best of retiring in the Philippines, because that may be the first step and it may be the last step that you'll take towards it before you head off to Colombia or I don't know, Ecuador. So the best thing to do is to come and have a look, and if you can come and you can travel during that time. Now it doesn't fit in with this idea doesn't fit in with going on a dating site. Supposing you've decided that you want to come out to this country. This country is made up of a very, very varied landscape. There are 7,000 islands. When I say 7,000 islands, there's not 7,000 islands that you, as a retiring expat, can come and retire comfortably in. No, there are not, because if you're retiring, then you're going to want hospitals. If you're retiring, you want to be able to go to a doctor, you want to go to a dentist, you want to get your car serviced. You want these things which are dependent on a reasonable infrastructure. Now, even where we are now, we're on Bohol, and it can be limited as to what kind of a service that you can get. I've had medical issues that I've had to have tended to. When about 4 years ago, when I was working on my house and I was making it of metal stud, for those who actually know a little bit about working with metal stud, it's metal, right? And the way that you fix it is by drilling. You drill into metal and then you put a rivet in there. Well, when you drill, tiny, tiny, tiny shards of metal can come off, and of course, where are they going to go? They're going to go in your eye. And that's what happened to me. It was extremely, extremely painful. When something's in your eye, it just never stops watering. I mean, it's just, it was so unpleasant. But I did go, and I drove up to Tagbilaran. I had been to an optician in Taliban who said he could have taken it out for me, but he told my wife that he wouldn't do it for a foreigner, because if anything went wrong, a foreigner would be able to afford to take legal action and he would be in trouble. So much as we proclaimed our innocence of this kind of behavior and said, look, just take the thing out, he wouldn't do it. So we had to drive nearly 3 hours to Tagbilaran in great discomfort. Now when we got there, we went to a clinic. We went to a young optical surgeon, shall we say, and he took what it amounted to several pieces that had gone into my eye and were embedded in there, and he took them out and it was fine. Everything was good. He was very professional. He was very caring. They were very concerned that I should in the future wear safety glasses, and I always have. I learned my lesson with that. So you can get good medical attention. It's one of those things. When we were talking about some of the problems that we had once with a snake, and somebody said, well, Terence, if you get bitten by a cobra, you're going to die. And he had that very clear cut. So in other words, where we live, very isolated out in the middle of the mountains, and by the time that I would get to a doctor or anyone who could treat that kind of accident, I might be dead. And that might be true. So you need to be into a place where you're going to be comfortable with the facilities that are added. in order to do that, you need to come out here. Now, if you come out here and you've already met somebody online, you're not going to look around. Unless you have met someone who is comfortable with traveling with you and is willing to relocate. So that would be a given, but it wouldn't be that likely, because one of the things about coming out to the Philippines and making the best of it is it's better if you can settle in with the family of your partner-to-be, or partner or wife. It does have its drawbacks, and we've dealt with those in other videos. You know, sometimes people are expecting an expat, a foreigner, to be very wealthy and be able to bail them out of their problems. And of course, as foreigners, we know that that's not true. So you have to come out with your own boundaries that you expect, and what you would do for extended family if ever the need comes up. So you need to have that sorted out. But we've done a video on that too. So how can you make the best of it? Well, if you know that, let's assume that you've come out here, say, for 4 weeks. You've rented a motorcycle or a car, depending on whether it's the rainy season or not. You've traveled around to a few of the areas of the Philippines which you have researched already. Now, for me personally, we live high in the mountains of Burgos, which is on Bohol. And now Bohol did suffer very badly in one of the earthquakes, but where we live, there was no sensation of an earthquake at all. I wasn't there at the time, but that's what we learned, that there was no damage here. And I saw that the house is as it's been for 40 or 50 years, so I know that that's true. So that would be one of the things that I would demand, because there are places which always seem to get the heck beaten out of them when it comes to a storm. And especially if you go to somewhere like Manila, it's a tough city, I think. All cities, to my mind, are tough because they're crowded. There are always slum areas, places that you need to be aware of and need to know about. But that's offset by the fact that the infrastructure is so much better. I mean, there's so many incredible malls in Manila. There's public service, public transport. There are taxis, there are theatres, there are all kinds of stuff that's really good. You can get most things there, because I know that, because when we've had to get things for one of our trucks, they got it from Manila. So they sent to Manila and got it. So there are upsides even there of living in a big city. Not enough up for me. I prefer to live out here, and I'll take the bad with the good. The good, clean air, beaches which are pristine depending on where you go. You can go to tourist places. I mean, for instance, if you want to go to somewhere like Panglao, you could go to Panglao. The hotels obviously will be more expensive there, because it is catering for foreigners, and people come from different parts of the world and they go there, and I've walked around there, and I've even been on other parts, not so much in Panglao, but I remember that Beth and I stayed with a friend in Dumaguete, and she took us for lunch, and we went for a meal in a very good resort. Well, that resort was so incredibly equipped for divers. I mean, you didn't have to take a single thing along with you, and they had perfectly serviced equipment that you could do anything with, even down to photographic rigs that you could get. Just a ton of stuff that you could have, and it was all there, and of course you would pay for it. Panglao, I think, is, whether it's to quite the same degree, I don't know, because Dumaketti, for instance, is supposedly very high on the list of places to retire in. But because of that, a lot retire there. That seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? But they have everything there. They have a boardwalk, and they have bars, and they have places that you can go and have a drink and a meal and all of that. And it's all there. They have great servicing for cars. It's just a modern place to be. So you may choose that would be it. For me, I've lived in big cities all my life, and I had enough. I don't need to live in a big city now. I used to live in a big city. I used to live in London, and I lived there because I was a musician, and that's where the work was. That's where all the recording studios were. That's where the BBC was. That's where the ITN was, and all of those places at which if you got television work or radio work or recording work, it was all right there, and that's where you would get the most. So it was necessary for me to live there, and I never thought anything about it. As soon as I came out here, and I came with Beth after we were married. We came to Bohol, and we decided that we were going to come here so that we could live cheaply and go abroad. And the way that it turned out was that this became our mission, and now we are applying for a non-stock, non-profit corporation, which should be through this year. It's taken a long time. We've done a lot of work, cost a lot of money, but that seems to be the Filipino way, that when you start into registration and it's with the government, it can take a long time. So we're hoping that we're right at the tail end of that now. But if you were coming and you were going to retire, we came and found, I came as a retiree, and I actually found a mission to help, which interested me and soon had me committed, although a lot of people said I should have been committed. But anyway, that's how it worked for me. Now for you, you may decide that you're going to come and you're going to entertain yourself with, I don't know, a well-equipped workshop. And in that case, you should have done your homework before you came and not given away that well-equipped workshop that you were enjoying wherever you were in the States or the UK. You should have brought it all with you. I've heard of people who have brought a 20, 30 or 40 foot container with all of their stuff in it, and that has proved very successful. So that's something that you have to research as to what you bring with you. And there obviously will be taxes, there'll be stuff to pay when you get to customs, and the one that I was told, the only one that I've been told of, I think it was a 40-foot container. It was never opened. And I've spoken to others, and they said, no, it was never opened. It was sealed by the company that organized the transportation of the container, and I opened it myself. So that would be something that you'd have to find out for yourself. So what kind of place would you like to live in? As I say, if you went to somewhere like Dumaketti, Dumaketti has all of the attributes of a resort, a seaside, what I would, in the UK, I would have called a seaside resort. And so if that's the kind of thing that you like, if you like to go out in the evening and you like to go out with your partner or a date, or however you want to put that, and you want to go to a restaurant and have a drink and have a glass of wine or whatever it, if that's your style, then maybe somewhere like Dumaketti or even Cebu or Manila there are many places that you could go. You could go to Tagbilaran, you could go to Panglao. And obviously the cost of such a lifestyle will vary according to the location. You couldn't live in Panglao on what we live here in Burgos. It's not in the way. When we went recently to Cebu, we had business in Cebu. We went there, and while we were looking for a particular place in the taxi driver didn't actually know where it was. And as we're driving around, I saw a 2-bedroomed, 3-car garage house, and it was, I think, 25,000 pesos. Work that out for yourself, 25,000 pesos, whether that would be something that you would quite happily meet. It probably had everything, probably would have a nice kitchen, it would be nicely decorated, probably fairly new, and have air conditioning and all of those things that many foreigners say they cannot do without if they come here. We personally do not have air conditioning. I'm here now. We don't have air conditioning on right now. I don't even have a fan on right now, so that gives you an idea of how we are. But the temperature is quite mild at the moment. So you need to make judgments on A, what you're going to do when you're here, where you would like to do it, what kind of a lifestyle. When you open your front door in the morning, what do you want to look out on? If you want to look out on a bustling city, then don't come to Burgos. When I open my front door and look out, I might look out on a carabao grazing, I might look out on goats, I might look out on dogs, cats, chickens, but I don't look out on a bustling city. And I can look out in any direction and look out over beautiful rolling hills. We are actually, because of the altitude, we're up in the mountains, but they're not the Eiger sanction, okay? So it's not that kind of mountain, but we are high. The air is wonderfully clean. There's beautiful breeze. We're on the top of the hill, and life is good. Yeah, life is good. We have a mission of help, and that's what we are pursuing. We're pursuing a non-profit charity organization, and we will hope that once we can have all of the paperwork done, we have 90% of it now, we just need to wait until this one is ready. And then we will get back to work, and it's work that we enjoy. So you have to choose what you're going to do, and I didn't really need to. It looks like the battery is almost out again. So I didn't need to do very much in terms of bringing stuff out here, but depending on what your activity is going to be, you might have to bring stuff out. So that, deciding the location, traveling around and seeing a few places so that you can get an idea, do a little research beforehand about what the various places are like, and you might have a chance of having a very happy retirement here. This is a foreigner in the Philippines before the battery quits altogether. Bye for now.